And I was responsible for the join, and so it was a nightmare for me. But looking back on it, no, couldn't have been a nightmare. It was fun. Sure, it was fun. And we got it.
Well, Darby O'Gill, 'tis pleased and delighted I am to see you again.
Thank you, sir. It's a grand place you got here.
Ah, that's well enough.
The illusion of the small leprechauns was done so perfectly that it fooled even the most discriminating viewers. In fact, the effects looked so real that the film did not even receive an Oscar nomination for visual effects that year.
It was a complex film, and it's amazing how it came off. Because I moved away from the perspective of the shots that we did in perspective, but looking back at it, they're flawless. If you like to look at the film, you won't see the join on them. And I think we did a wonderful job, and I was helped by great people at Disney Studios because he only hired the best. It was fun working on it, even though it's so difficult.
Michael.
What do you want?
It's remarkable, actually. I don't know how the hell we did it. Walt came to me and said, I'd like you to do some pictures of the opening scene in Swiss Family Robinson. Do some sketches and show me, and then we'll see. So I did that. He looked at me and said, oh yeah, if you can bring it off, it's okay. Oh, if I can bring it off? Yes, I want you to go to England, and you only have 2 weeks because you have to get to Tobago right away. They found an old boat, a ship. They re-rigged it so it looked like it had been in a terrible storm. We set it up in the tank. I knew that we'd have to have tremendous wind, so we had, I think, 7 Spitfire engines on the end of the tank. You couldn't stand up in it. It was tremendous wind, which was great. But as we were shooting, I noticed the backing looked just so, it was just painted black. So I decided, when we saw the rushes of the first day test, that's not going to be any good. Let's put up some smoke pots. Put up smoke pots that cover all the backing so that you can't see the backing at all, and it's alive. We got this shot of this ship hitting the rock. Oh, it worked wonderfully. So we shot 2 or 3 scenes of that. Then it occurred to me, this is going so well with these machines blowing the water so fine spray. Let's go a close-up of the ship. Now, we'd never done close-ups of the ship, of a model ship in the storm. So we did it. It really worked. And in the scene that you see at the beginning of the picture, there's the close-up of what seems to be a huge ship.
After completing the visual effects work in England, Peter was off to the island of Tobago to paint the glass shots. However, his responsibilities expanded when producer Bill Anderson recruited him to oversee the stunt unit, which had fallen behind schedule under the supervision of second unit director and celebrated stuntman Yakima Canutt.
We're way behind on the scenes. Yak is inclined to take a scene and improve on it to the extent it's not in the script, and we will never be on time if we don't do something. Now, what I'm going to ask you to do is to make sure that Yak only does shots that are to go in the film. Never shoot anything else. Never.
With Canutt continually wanting to stray from the script, Peter found himself in a daily struggle to keep things under control.
5 months I was there. It gradually got worse because I got on his nerves. I was looked upon with contempt by most everybody, except my old friends that were there. It was a British crew, a lot of British. I wanted to get home anyway. I wanted so much. I would have walked across the water to get home.
Back in California with his family, Peter again found time to devote to painting his seascapes, a respite from the rigors of filmmaking. But soon, another great director would give Ellenshaw a call. The director was Stanley Kubrick, and he needed an establishing shot for his epic film, Spartacus. This was to be the only matte painting Peter was to ever do for Kubrick, but it remains one of his best.
The picture you're looking at now was a painting I did for Spartacus, Stanley Kubrick's picture. And it's the only one I did in the movie, but it is something rather, I feel, rather unusual because of the size of it and the depth of it. I think this is probably one of the better matte paintings I ever did. And here, what's this here? Something stuck on there. Oh, I know what that is. This is an actual clip from the before the painting was put on. And this is just the shot before the painting was added. I hold it up here and you can see it. The live action is happening on this part here and on this part here. And two different shots were put on together without moving the camera, if I remember correctly. And so that we could show these people up here and then take them down here and show them walking around here on a marketplace. The trick in matte painting, if you know what you're doing, you mustn't make it too highly finished. It just gives the imagination time to work. Really, this isn't like a photograph when you really look at it. It's more alive, I think. So it's as though you're looking out at the actual scene. This is a good example of matte painting done the right way, I think. I'll take the credit anyway. Walt liked Mary Poppins, the idea, and it took a couple of years before he came up with a story that really tied the Mary Poppins stories together into film. And it was Walt that he was involved with every story meeting on that picture. It was a delight to be in. When we were working on the storyboards, Don DeGrotti, who was the great story man, he would come up with some ideas, for instance, when they were walking along rooftops. And he said, do you think we could do an effect of climbing smoke? And showed me a sketch of it. And I said, oh, no problem. Thinking that we'll solve it later, we'll do it with some magic. It turned out to be one heck of a job to make smoke so that you can get steps and walking up into the top of the cathedral. Bill Walsh, who was the producer of Mary Poppins, came to me one day when we were working on Mary Poppins and said, do you know any vulgar dances? I said, sure I do. I remember one, but it was a song about Knees Up Mother Brown. So I took this song and said, maybe this will work. I did the dance for them. Bill Walsh was so intrigued, he said, I'll get Walt along. I thought, oh, God, I've got to do it in front of Walt. So, okay, Walt came, sat down, all right, what are you going to do? I said, well, this is dance that I learned in England, Walt, and it was a kind of cool audience. So it's called Knees Up Mother, and you link arms and you dance across the room, singing this song. So I did it, and Walt looked at me and said, can I do that? I said, sure. So I linked his arm one side, and Don DeGrotti linked the other arm, and we danced across the floor singing Knees Up Mother Brown. I remember well, only too well, on Mary Poppins, Walt one day saying we'd just gone through the sweeps dance. And this was a very complex scene. I had a lot of work in it. Walt said to me, I don't see any problems, do you, Peter? Oh, yeah, there'll be problems. What problems? Oh. There aren't any problems, there are only answers. There's only challenges. Don't you see that, Peter? Why don't you become more of a yes man? He didn't want yes men, but he wanted enthusiasm. One day he tapped me on the shoulder and he said, guys, do you know how I met Peter? No, Walt. Well, I was in London in Trafalgar Square, and there was this young artist painting on the pavement. I said to him, well, that's very nice. Would you like to come to Hollywood? And he said, oh, yes, Governor. And that's how he came to Hollywood. That was a joke of Walt's. He was amused at the thought that I would be a pavement artist. Later on Mary Poppins, I was the hand that was drawing on the pavement.